From above, the Cayman Islands stretch wide across the Caribbean. A meeting of ocean and sky painted in shifting blues. The water glows with clarity, revealing sandbars and coral reefs as it fades from turquoise at the shallows to sapphire at the drop-offs. Clouds drift across endless horizon lines, their shadows sliding slowly over beaches, mangroves, and rocky headlands. It's a view that feels unbroken, both vast and intimate, a canvas for light that seems to change with every passing minute. Out here, light bends across water that stays transparent for miles. Shifting from turquoise to almost navy in a single glance, salt air sharp against the green of mangroves and palms. No two shorelines are ever quite the same. One beach flattens into perfect sand. Another breaks against rocky outcrops. Each reveals its own surprises. From the vibrant shores of Grand Cayman to the wild limestone cliffs of Cayman Brac and the tranquil beaches of Little Cayman. Each island offers its own unforgettable landscapes and experiences. Beyond them, the greens of palms and mangroves crowd together, rippling in the wind. Even as small inlets and lagoons shine like mirrors. For the curious, there's always more around each bend. Explore trails by boat or bicycle. Push out in a kayak to cut across a sound or shallow channel. Or just wade through warm tide pools where sea stars, urchins, and little darting blennies mix. If that's not enough, cave exploration awaits the intrepid explorer. With cool, damp air and stone walls marked by history, each one is a practical landmark and a mystery. And once the sun starts to fall, skies go deep blue and hold on to color, casting long shadows over limestone edges as warm light stretches across fields, beaches, and rooftop patios. You'll find reasons enough to keep exploring, whether that's a hushed bluff trail at dawn or a sea swim under moonlight, or simply letting a slow walk take you through yet another shift in light, wind, and horizon. Come explore the Cayman Islands. Georgetown spreads along the south of Grand Cayman. Waterfront piers, the Parliament, open-air markets, and a harbor packed with ships. Georgetown gives you ample opportunity to explore the history of the island, or enjoy casual or fine waterfront dining, or visit the local distilleries and breweries. It also provides shopping for duty-free luxury goods. The draw is variety. Watch ships unloading tourists and goods while sipping on a local brew. Roam the art-laced sidewalks to find duty-free finds, or catch weekly markets rich with fruit, music, and fish to experience a local adventure. Everything is layered with the grit and energy of a busy port. World-famous 7 Mile Beach stretches north out of town, a straight line of sand so pale it almost glows under the midday sun. The sea here is transparent, letting cloud shadows slide over your feet as you wade. Palm trees and casuarinas, also known as she-oaks, an Australian pine tree, cut slim lines across the skyline. And the bright water makes a sharp border between sea and land. Long known as a favorite swim spot, postcard photos made it stand out to become the favorite tourist mecca it is today. Hurricanes and shifting sandbars keep its exact length in flux, so 7 Mile Beach is more of a reference than a reality. The appeal is the uncrowded space, room for sunbathing, swimming, paddleboarding, or just cooling off with toes in the tide. Locals and visitors have shaped beach culture along this stretch. What the place provides is clear: pure access to water, wide sky, and the pleasure of a beach that doesn't quit. Smith Cove, sometimes called Smith's Barcadera, is a rocky scoop in the south coast with rough rock outcrops and a patch of sand at its center. Steps lead you down to scattered shadows where crabs and lizards hide, and the offshore reef means your snorkeling adventure brings quick encounters with parrotfish, rays, and the odd barracuda. This spot started as an anchorage and swim hole for early settlers who needed water access away from the main harbor. Smith Cove is now a place to simply enjoy your untethered time on Grand Cayman. Come early or late, rocks for jumping in, sand for lounging, and a gentle drop-off for snorkeling or easy swims. The Mastic Trail pulls you inland, a narrow path cut through untouched woodland and thick mangroves. The ground is sometimes rocky and uneven, sometimes muddy. The trail is lined with old mahogany, silver thatch, rare wild orchids, and flashes of blue iguana if you're sharp-eyed. This was once the main link between old farms and outlying settlements. Conservation groups rebuilt the trail decades ago so walkers could see parts of Grand Cayman that had not been engineered into roads and lawns. The draw is straightforward. Hike, birdwatch, or study bark. The path winds through rare ecology, offering a kind of quiet and shade you won't find along the shore. The walk demonstrates that wild Cayman still hangs on, root by root. The Cayman Islands National Museum, housed inside the old Quartz Building, is a living connection to Caymanian history. The building was constructed in 1830 and is one of only a handful of buildings dating to the 19th century. Inside, discover old ship hardware, coins recovered from old shipwrecks, kitchen tools from the days of thatched roofs, and ledgers signed by both magistrate and cook. Objects here speak. Who used conch shells as currency? What names marked first marriages? How wrecks and hurricanes changed everything in a morning? The museum is modest, but it gives attention to shared and beloved objects, recollection, and the memory of ordinary lives stitched together. The old Quartz Building, the oldest surviving building in the Cayman Islands, sits on a downtown corner, ringed with columns that look almost out of place in the tropics. It has, over the years, served both Georgetown and Grand Cayman as a court, post office, school, and civic center, sometimes all at once. Locals recall tales of stray animals wandering into hearings, or judges halting a proceeding to wait for rain to stop leaking through the roof during a storm. People now take photos of the colonial-era architecture and historic plaques, puzzling out why an English-style courtroom ended up where island chickens seem to be the local gentry. Its legacy is anything but ordinary. Layered function, a reminder of how island governments make do. Fort George ruins appear at the intersection of busy streets, wedged between glass towers and office blocks. The fort now consists of a handful of wall fragments and cannon, intertwined with vines. Those who look closer will find delightful oddities, graffiti etched in limestone and old carvings that no one has explained. Originally built for defense against pirates, then abandoned as the threat died off, the ruins now stand for the odd persistence of the old among everything modern. People stop to study the odd angles, take photos, or just puzzle out the way time chews through anything, even stone, while life goes on around it. As Georgetown's sandy beaches, markets, and historic walls give way to open roads, the edges of the island invite one last walk, proof there's always more to see past the harbor. Look closely at West Bay and the land tells its tale. Jagged limestone pushes outward, interrupted by strips of pale beach, and the sea beyond settles into shades of blue broken only by reef. This is West Bay, on the tip of Grand Cayman. For centuries, people here pulled fish from the shallows, raised small livestock, and cut palm thatch for shelter. Black limestone sprawls across the ground like scorched coral, sharp and treacherously jagged, with gaps that catch light in strange ways. Locals long ago began calling these rocks hell, the word fitting the eerie look of stone burned by time and sea. It is a patch of marine limestone eroded into spiky formations, a process that took thousands of years. It is a purely Cayman curiosity, a place where nature seems to have carved its own warning. Dark, devilish rocks that remind onlookers of the island's harshness alongside its natural beauty. Landscapes that shaped imagination and inspired survival. Today, its draw lies in contrast. The sharp rock, the calm water, the human history, all layered together. The shallow water of Rum Point spreads out like spilled glass. Sand so white it seems dusted with flour, and casuarina branches bow low, tossing shadows where the breeze slips in. Rum Point Place takes its name from barrels left behind by shipwrecks in the days when trade and luck dictated what washed up ashore. It's hard not to feel at ease. The boards of the pier, weathered and bleached, stretch across still water that glows teal at midday and cools to gray under rain. Designed much more for utility than the rustic beauty it has, the pier lets boaters tie up and repair nets, meet friends, or lean over the edge to watch seagrass sway. The pier's presence speaks to connection between land and sea, people and tides, practical needs and slow pleasure. Day and night, its sturdy planks bridge gaps that a beach alone never could. The sand of Starfish Point thins into a finger of land where the sea slides quietly across the ground, clear down to a scatter of orange stars crawling among patches of shell and shallow weed. Starfish Point got its name the direct way. Countless sea stars lounge here, drawn by the sun-warmed shallows and peaceful current. Locals once paddled out with homemade nets to fish. Kids waded in to pick up conchs, and every hunched mangrove root held its own small lesson in biological adaptation. This stretch provides open access and exciting discovery. Nothing fenced off, nothing guarded. Just nature handing out surprises to anyone who lingers longer than a glance. Tread in the knee-deep water of Stingray City. Sand underfoot, sunlight raked across the shoal, and you will instantly understand how this one-of-a-kind natural wonder got its name. Stingray City welcomes hands and fins in equal measure. Decades ago, fishers cleaned their catch here, dropping bits for rays who learned to glide in for snacks. Now explorers can slip off a boat, watch wild stingrays cruise past, and reach out to feed, touch, or gently hold the velvet wings. Everything moves gently, kindly. Fish, people, even the waves, all blending for a scene unlike anywhere else. Stingray City represents a surprising level of trust and a chance to meet the denizens of the sea up close, face to face. On these beaches, the real draw is belonging. On a stretch of coast where waves tug at Iron Shore, Sea Grape, and Bougainvillea, lies Bodden Town. Situated on a natural harbor and a coral reef, Bodden Town was once the capital of the Cayman Islands but is now the jumping-off place for a beautiful day of exploring. The town was shaped by trade, piracy, and shipwrecks. Its name comes from William Bodden, a former chief magistrate. Walk the main drag and it's easy to see. Nothing fussy, just a patchwork of hard-won comfort, seasoned with the ocean's salt and shared memory. And that, specifically, is its magic. The Mission House, the top attraction in Bodden Town, was built in the 1700s for visiting missionaries and teachers. It held the island's first school and sheltered islanders during storms. Hurricane Ivan destroyed the original Mission House in 2004, but the resourceful Caymanians rebuilt it to showcase traditional building techniques from the era, along with a full garden. The Mission House explains early Caymanian history, along with food and healing traditions, deep-sea diving equipment, and sailing ships. The Pedro, St. James National Historic Site's stone walls, 3 stories high, gaze over the bluff, shutters thrown open to draw ocean breeze. Called a castle by locals, but built for defense and public meetings in the 1700s. It once held court for everything from rival property claims to government business. It is the oldest surviving stone structure in the Cayman Islands. It was here that the island's first elected legislature met, walked the paths, and every footstep lands on another chapter. Colonial plot, town feast, hurricane refuge. People see in these stout stones a will to adapt and an invitation to rethink beginnings on solid ground. The gardens wrap around the main building, less formal arrangement and more living backyard. Old mahogany trees shade the walkways, and the sense here is of history and resilience. Roads thin out past the mangroves on the way to East End. East End is known for its strong winds and for folks who prefer distance from the crowds. People built homes farther apart, settling small churches near the road. The district embodies quiet perseverance at the map's edge. Blowholes launch salt spray skyward where waves batter sections of iron shore, turning the tide into tall, misted fountains that stud the noon heat. For the best experience, go during high tide or on a windy day, but wear sturdy shoes to protect your feet from the rough, uneven terrain and hold on to your hat. A jumble of old anchors, bits of timber, and coral lie scattered below the waves near East End, each piece resting in water so clear you can see fish dart in and out. In 1794, a convoy of ships carrying produce from Jamaica to Britain ran aground on these rocks. Islanders rescued more than 400 sailors with only a few lives lost. It is known locally as the Wreck of the 10 Sail. The wreck isn't marked by a grand structure, just scraps beneath the water's surface, and legend. East End's dive resorts and shops arrange guided trips there, letting people drop into the past among the scattered remains, reef life weaving through what's left. The north side of Grand Cayman is lush, laid back, and picturesque. But this peace and quiet comes with a trade-off. It's located about 35 minutes from town and has a frequent offshore breeze that coats everything in salt. It's a lower key, traditional Cayman Island experience not to be missed. The Botanic Park on the north side is a blend of culture, history, and nature. It stretches across what was once farming land and was originally opened by Queen Elizabeth II. It was reimagined in the late 1990s to preserve native plants, rare aquatic birds, and the endangered blue iguana. Cayman parrots flash green in open flight, and you can spot rare ghost orchids or banana orchids as you lounge beside the 2-acre lake. There are also sections dedicated to the heritage of the islands, old thatch house models, medicinal herbs, and plants used in kitchens. Up the road, the Crystal Caves opened to the public only recently, but have drawn islanders for far longer, at least those brave enough to navigate the caverns and its variety of cave formations. Roots hang like tangled ropes above, rock glitters with calcite, and light beams down from holes in the ground, throwing patterns over stalactites that reach down like melted wax. Guides tell stories of how the caves fit into myths, why some chambers grow bats, and how rainfall shapes columns over years you can measure by palm. This spot accepts visitors as explorers, letting them touch geology and the piecework of time, all under a green canopy. Camana Bay is Grand Cayman's buzzing, celebratory heart. There are over 600 annual events here, so you can't help but find a reason to celebrate. From shopping and dining to family-friendly activities and art, Camana Bay stands as one of Cayman's clearest declarations of modern ambition. Built on dredged land where forest and marsh once tangled, This district weaves together shops, offices, courtyards, and shaded play fountains. Plazas line up open walkways like arcades. Built mostly within the past 10 years, these plazas exist because of population shifts away from Georgetown. The markets and plazas serve up local flavor, convenience, oddball finds, and the kind of social space that lets an ordinary day stretch far beyond the beach. View seekers with sturdy knees might climb the famed observation tower. Spiral stairs hemmed in by colored mosaics pull skyward, with each landing offering a slightly wider look over rooftops, canals, and boats parked at waterfronts. The top is the reward, a full sweeping view of the north side, palm crowns, marinas, and the steady shuffle of daily business down below. Modern, yes, but also a marker of perspective. The tower stands as an anchor for orientation and leisure, echoing the local tradition of climbing high for weather watch and navigation. The central mangrove wetlands stretch for miles in the heart of Grand Cayman, marked by thickly tangled roots, wide salt ponds, and patches of calm water, broken only by the slap of a mullet or a plankton shimmer. Mangroves are part of a complex food chain that continues from the turtle grass and shrimp mounds in Little Sound through to the snappers and lobsters which move from the mangroves to the reef. Without the mangroves, the entire system would collapse. The area's scale is hard to overstate. It's one of the largest undisturbed mangrove regions in the Caribbean, and it has gone mostly unchanged for decades despite rapid development elsewhere. Watch for the Cassiopeia, or upside-down jellyfish, clouding the shallow, soft-bottom lagoons. Crabs, eels, and wide rays sift the mudflats searching for snacks. Herons stalk the shallows, brown pelicans glide low, and warblers flash yellow and green as they ride the breeze. West Indian whistling ducks, rarely seen elsewhere, call out at dusk. On dark nights in Bioluminescent Bay, the water glows blue-green if stirred. Microscopic plankton light up from contact, sending ripples of glowing light around paddles or swimming limbs. The bay's glow comes from a dense concentration of single-cell organisms that flash to startle away predators. Here, science and spectacle mix, and the appeal is making light with your own movement, turning a simple paddle or splash into something nearly electric. A simple kayak ride turns into an evening where the only streetlights are set by plankton. Sand at spots, public beach gleams pale, with waves sorting shells along the shore. The shade goes patchy, sea turtles surface, and salt air sticks to your skin. This beach favors easy afternoons, float with parrotfish, wade out past seagrass, share a cooler of fruit, or try skipping stones at sunset. Spots Public Beach is all about access and comfort, a wide, sandy invitation for all. A path leads into a mangrove thicket and soggy ground. Governor Michael Gore Bird Sanctuary contains soft mud ponds ringed in willow and the raucous calls of herons and moorhens. The boards of the walkways creak below your feet, and you might catch sight of bright red warblers or hear chatter from a wood rail. The sanctuary has become a gathering for birders, wanderers, and anyone needing to learn patience, waiting for the flash of wings, hoping to spot turtles in the shallows, or just watching rain move across the landscape. Managed for habitat more than spectacle, it values protection and education. Showy plumage and bird calls are just a bonus that you won't want to miss. Cayman Brac, 90 miles from Grand Cayman, rises unexpectedly. An island stretched long and narrow with limestone cliffs that climb bold and sheer above the Caribbean. From high above, you see the Brac's wild shape. Turquoise water carving gentle bays on one side, waves breaking white and bright against the bluff's edge on the other. The horizon seems endless here, sky and sea blurring together. From these heights, the patterns of the reef glow beneath the surface, and long shadows stretch across silent rocky ledges. This is a landscape both rugged and beautiful, sculpted by time, weather, and sea. A view that invites you to witness the Brac's untamed energy, all seen through the sweeping, ancient continuousness of the sea's winds. The island has a storied history, with shipwreck survivors, pirates, and settlers finding protection in these heights and hollows. Even today, the island's unique sights above and below water are a steady call for any adventurer looking for what has yet to be discovered. The Bluff runs across the east side of Cayman Brac, its sheer limestone face rising above the forest. It is the spine of Cayman Brac and the highest spot in the Cayman Islands. And from up top, you'll spot rare seabirds like brown boobies circling or nesting on craggy ledges. Rainwater caves open into the rock, sometimes cool enough to hang on to their own patches of fog on humid days. Peter's Cave, Great Cave, and Chandelier are just three of the many limestone caves on Cayman Brac. Carved into the bluff's upper slopes, the trail to Peter's Cave is marked by hand-cut stairs and a wide open mouth. For decades, this was a hurricane shelter where islanders waited out the winds underground. The view from the cool depths of Peter's Cave are spectacular. Skull Cave leans into the ground with split openings, bone-white stalactites, and cool air. The Bats' Cave next door turns dusk into an aerial show as the bats leave the cave to seek an evening's feed. Storms, pirates, and secrets have all fit in these limestone pockets. Rebecca's Cave is probably the most frequently visited cave on Brac. It is named after a small girl who fled with her family from the hurricane of 1932. The hurricane of 1932 is a dark chapter in the history of the Caymans. Rebecca, only 17 months old, was killed in her family's attempt to escape the storm's midnight wrath. She was buried in the cave. A faded plaque marks the loss. It remains to this day a memorial both private and public. Secluded snorkeling and diving sites hide in coves and along reef breaks, most with nothing more than rough sandy entries or wooden steps hammered into the stone. The appeal is the mix of easy access and living coral with broad fan corals, colorful sponges, and lots of small fish near shore. You'll also find deep cuts and underwater tunnels, some marked by buoys but many by nothing at all. Divers and snorkelers pick these spots for their quiet, the lack of crowds, and the chance to catch sight of turtles or nurse sharks passing by. Checking with the locals helps you understand the currents and best entry spots. Farther up the bluff side, the Brac Lighthouse posts its skeleton frame against wind and scrub, beacon glass reflecting salt haze. Simple and practical, the lighthouse was built after repeated shipwrecks along the south shore. Early structures got battered, rebuilt, and then replaced by taller steel. Always a touch of rust, and a view that stretches clean over the reef line. The site draws weather watchers, shutterbugs, and locals with small kites spun from scrap cloth. Brac Lighthouse stands for vigilance, navigation, and the wish to see storms before they see you. A mix of warning and welcome pressed high into the limestone. West End sprawls across Cayman Brac's tip, where roads cut between iron shore and wild scrub. All along the edge, the blowholes launch fountains skyward. Old-timers say the blowholes help measure wind and sea, with the biggest bursts happening on squally afternoons. These odd features serve as nature's glorious entertainment, but also as warning for those walking too near the geyser's ledges that rock and sea partner up here to put on a casual show whenever they please. West End proves, from limestone ledges to garden walks to salt-misted blowholes and hammocks rocking in the breeze, that there's always a spot to get happily soaked, catch a quiet nap, or spy a feathered treasure. Little Cayman Island is 60 miles northeast of Grand Cayman and only 10 miles long and 1 mile wide. Jacques Cousteau labeled it one of the top 3 diving locations in the world. Visit Little Cayman, and you'll be one of the few tourists to do so. You'll be met with peace, quiet, sparsely populated beaches, and unimaginably clear waters in every shade of blue. Blossom Village is a lovely blip along Little Cayman's south shore. Sporting bikes, free-roaming chickens, and outdoor adventures aplenty. Blossom grew up as a fishing outpost and custom station rooted in barter and subsistence. Today, the town is Little Cayman's relaxed hub, a place where travelers rent bikes, stock up on groceries, unwind at small cafes, and set off for dives, birdwatching, or sunset strolls. Point of Sand turns the map's edge into a pale curve that glows bright white at midday. The sand is so fine it covers your feet like sifted flour, while shallows let you wash the powder off as you wade out past coral bits and rays. No buildings clutter things, just driftwood, a lone picnic table, sometimes signs warning about current. Local families fish here, spearfishing or netting sprat for dinner. Point of Sand stands out for its simplicity. Peace, fishing, diving, and space to forget the heavier parts of any week. Little Cayman Museum is housed in a plain blue cottage with hurricane shutters and a porch designed for cooling down during September squalls. Inside, you'll find underwater photography exhibits and artifacts from Cayman history and beyond. You'll also meet the local endangered rock iguanas. Volunteers started the museum so local history might stay put instead of floating off. Randy's Gazebo is a popular dive site that sits beneath the waves off the northwest side of Little Cayman. The name comes from the limestone archway and coral chimney that are a favorite diving and photo spot. Randy's Gazebo is known for the colorful variety of sea life that surrounds it. Bright living corals, massive barrel sponges, seahorses, turtles, and various types of fish surround the swim-throughs and overhangs that are not technically difficult to navigate. Bloody Bay Marine Park is a massive vertical reef stretching off the western coast. Clear water, coral heads, swaying seagrass, and reef drop-offs outside the glare of the noonday sun make it a world-class dive site. Divers slip off boats straight into a place crowded with life. Turtles, eagle rays, schools pulsing around fans and lace corals. The park was declared protected as fishing pressure grew and now ensures that marine science and recreation can commingle. People come for the vivid underwater stroll, spotting species, trying underwater photography, or counting clouds of blue damselfish. The park supports balance. Nature is managed and appreciated, but offers exploration without the loss of what makes reef life so thick. Great Wall is the most vertical section of the Bloody Bay Coral Reef. It sometimes gets mistaken for the edge of an underwater continent. Vertical coral stretching for hundreds of feet, with fissures and pillars running down into blue. The wall holds colonies of tube sponges, waving fans, and the hard rock that gives divers their best descent. Boats venture to the site only under certain wind conditions, guided by those who know the tricks and channels. Each dive reveals new tunnels, unfamiliar fish, and the endless play between sunlight, shadow, and the deep, a truly magical experience. Booby Pond Nature Reserve sits just off the edge of Blossom Village, swollen with mangrove trees and a salt pond that echoes with the calls of red-footed boobies. Walk out on the observation deck at dusk and watch the sky fill with wings, or peer down to see iguanas slide through brackish water. The reserve, a Ramsar wetland site, exists to protect the only breeding colony of these seabirds in the region, and is the default spot for afternoon birdwatching, recording migration, or spooling through the sounds of bird calls mixed with wind and insect hum. Booby Pond offers an education and light adventure and ties this fragile natural community together in ways both fragile and resilient. Little Cayman packs loads of adventure, peace, and warmth into every path, from sunlit sand to museum porch. It invites you to slow down and trade schedules for bare feet, neighborly nods, and the easy drift of small discoveries. Owen Island, a tiny spot just off the coast of Little Cayman, is a quick paddle away but feels far from anywhere you left behind. The island is barely more than a spit of sand and rocks, with scrubby ground and hardly any shade. What draws people is simplicity. A patch of land made for those who want a break from everything constructed. There's no infrastructure here, no shops or piers, just open shore, shallows made for snorkeling, and crabs that skitter sideways whenever someone passes. Locals and visitors have used it for decades as a sun and swim retreat, a place to cool off or hold an informal gathering. Its value is clear. Owen Island presents freedom to roam, step away from plans, and fill a day however you please. Kayaking and snorkeling take center stage because that's how you get there and what you do once you arrive. Paddling over is quick and clear water, sometimes shallow enough to see the sandy bottom and the darting small fish and stingrays below. Pink sand and rocky terrain mark the edges, with broken coral and weathered stones spread out across the high water line. The pink comes from tiny shells and crushed marine life mixed in that give the sand a faint blush at sunrise and sunset. Thanks for wandering these islands, where every path, tide, and cast of light has a story to share. The Cayman Islands remind us that adventure is everywhere if we slow down, breathe in, and let the beauty of the moment find us.